Born in the USSR, Part 2. Hello comrades and welcome back to the Ushanka Show. Добрый день, товарищи. So, we continue with my story about life in Soviet Union, and after several days, when doctors made sure that me and my mom were feeling good, they let us go. My dad rented a taxi, took a taxi, because it was quite pricey to use taxi in Kiev, so that was one of the rare cases when we used a taxi and brought us home.
A couple words about taxis. Of course, as everything else, taxi parks and taxi cars were owned by government, and they usually used Volga 24 cars starting from 1970. Their car was produced from 1970 till 1985, replacing Volga 21, the early model. After limo-style car Chaika, which was used only by top brass of Communist Party, Volga was the biggest car manufactured in USSR. It had an engine with 94 horsepower and 24 45cc engine, and it was used extensively as a taxi, being colored in specific yellowish green color, and also for ambulance services. They manufactured a station wagon version of this car, and that car was popular to be used as ambulance. The cost of the ride in taxi was 10 kopecks per kilometer, so my parents probably had to pay close to 1 ruble to take me home. Now when I say home, I don't mean house, I don't mean apartment. At that time, my parents lived in dorms, so-called общежития. And even after marriage, my dad lived in the boys' dorm and my mom lived in the girls' dorm. So it was a while, only about 3 months after I was born, that they managed to find a room and move together. This is how I arrived to my mom's dorm room, which she shared with 3 other single girls, and for the first couple of months I slept in my stroller because we didn't have a crib bed then. And after the several months, my mom bribed the manager of the dorm building with the bottle of cognac and begged him to let her move up on the 3rd floor, where unofficially was the family area. So this whole building was actually girl dorms, but since people getting married once in a while, or quite often if you were young, they started moving some families up on the 3rd floor. My mom's dorm building was constructed after World War II using labor of German POWs. It was a solid 3-story high building in a U shape, so it had 2 wings, and each wing, which had 3 stories, had a total of 16 rooms and 2 kitchens and 1 bathroom. Now it was a multi-stall bathroom, so several people can use the bathroom at the same time, and the kitchens were big enough to fit 8 ovens, so each family can use at least 1 burner for cooking. So at first, for about 3 months, I lived on the 2nd floor, as I mentioned, sharing the room with my mom and 3 other single girls. And according to my mom, I was quite a popular baby because I was very cute, huge blue eyes, and I was very chubby. So sometimes my mom had to race from room to room trying to find me, because girls were just stealing me from one room to another to play like with a doll. Interesting fact that a guy could visit his girlfriend in a girl's dorm, but they always had a strict person in the entry, and was usually a really mean grandma who would be taking your passport before you can enter the building. And that was a great tool for girls to determine if this guy is single for real or just pretends, because in every Soviet passport we had a page when you had a stamp that it mentioned that you are single or you married. So that was a great tool. As long as the guy enters the building, other girls will come down, and while he's hanging out with his girlfriend, they will check for her. if this guy for real single or he is married and just looking for the affair on the side. So after 3 months, my mom begged the manager of the dorms to allow her to move up to the 3rd floor where several families lived, and that's how my family got together. Now they shared the room with another family, so we had a total of 6 people sharing one small room with the dining room table right in the middle, which was shared, and we lived on the left by the window and the other family on the right side of the room. In the middle of the room, they stretched the rope and they used a little curtain to block it off, so for privacy or the other reasons. As in many buildings constructed around that time, 40s and 50s, they had only cold water in the building, and because they also didn't have hot water heaters, in order to get hot water for your needs, like to wash dishes or to wash your kid, you had to heat it up in the pots or some other way. Adults were allowed to use showers downstairs in the basement. There was a locked shower room which was open only once a week on Fridays, and that area had hot water, so that's where adults are being washed. As a baby, you're supposed to be washed every day, so my mom had this metal tub, which you can see here in the picture, and that's how I was taking a bath every day for 5 years. We lived in those dorms for a total of 5 years, so since I was a tiny baby till I was a pretty big kid. And as I mentioned, after sleeping in the stroller for about 3 months, my parents got me a little baby crib, and later my dad had to cut one of the side to cut a hole in it so I can stick my legs out, because there was no room in the room to put the normal size bed for me, so I was still using baby crib with the hole so my legs can stick out. Of course, when you're a little kid, you don't understand how horrible your life conditions because you have nothing to compare with. So it was kind of fun for me because there were a lot of kids around, so we always had someone to play with. I'll be running around the building, up and down the stairs, and not knowing any better that some people lived in their own apartments with their own bathrooms. In this case, it was shared bathrooms and shared kitchens where people have to work around each other so both families can, or all the families can cook the meal and do the dishes and do the other chores. The clothing had to be dried outside. Of course, we didn't have washers and dryers. Everything was washed by hand. And then women would hang their clothes up on the balconies or outside. We had a special poles set up just like Amish people. So after about 6 months, my mom took me to the nursery, so-called детские ясли, which were for kids from 2 months old up to 3-year-old. And later, when I turned 3-year-old, I moved to kindergarten, детский сад, which was for the kids from 3 to 7-year-old. But that will be a next story. Thank you, and we'll see you soon for I Was Born in the USSR, Part 3.